feels like last year we were sitting in this very room doing this exact same podcast at the exact same time.
With the exact same background traffic.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's odd because that's also the last time I saw this guy.
Yeah, I know.
I don't see him as much as I used to.
But yeah, this was my 15th Otakon, and it's been so interesting to see what's changed, what stays the same, and stuff like that.
I hit number 7 this year.
Yeah.
This was 7 Otakons for me.
So yeah, it was. I had a good time.
Oh yeah, totally.
So we got in middle of the day on Thursday, or middle of the afternoon, I should say.
Around 5 something.
And there was the big red line this year.
Oh,
unfortunately, we don't have any footage of it, but
I got a photo. I got a photo of it, and I think I may have footage of the Reg line on Friday. I'll have to check.
Cool.
That's terrible.
So when people say that Otakon has crazy, insane lines, you believe them. Out of every convention that I do, and that's some 20 to 25 cons a year at this point, the worst lines I have ever encountered have been at Otakon. Maybe this is a testament to how popular the convention is. Maybe it is a testament to how big of the draw it is. Maybe it's a testament to how this is, as I have said time and time and time again, Otakon is the big pilgrimage of the East Coast con scene. Maybe it's just a combining factor of all three. But I can tell you one thing. When you go to Otakon, you are going to be standing in that line for a long, long, long time. Don't believe me? Sid, how long has Alyssa been staying in line?
Probably bordering 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
Yes. My first Otakon, I stood in line for 2.5, and ever since it's been like 20. But you want to see a line, people? You want to see what kind of big line you deal with at Otakon? Feast your eyes on this.
An abomination unto the Lord. You better color your coloring books and read your comic books.
This, my friends, is a registration line. Exactly. The worst line I'd ever seen prior to this was Anime Boston 08, otherwise known as LineCon, where I got my badge really early so I didn't have to deal with it. But my God, look at this. But I am going to say something, people, and this is something that I mean from the bottom of my heart. For Otakon, it's worth it. Seriously, this convention is completely 100% totally worth it. Wait in line for the 4 hours, get your badge, enjoy your weekend, because I guarantee that you will.
Yeah, but so I know they had registration issues last year, but apparently this was a brand new issue. It wasn't the same mistake twice, which is good, but it's still a big hit. Like they were turning, like they stayed like past midnight and still had to turn people away because they couldn't finish.
I remember at one point they announced that the line was being cut off at like 10 or 9. And there was still a massive...
It was still around the building.
Massive people just right in front of the BCC. Yeah. And it was just crazy.
So, but whatever happened, they seemed to fix it. I checked the line Friday morning and it was...
What line?
Exactly. There was no more line, so they fixed it. But I still got to say a little bit of 2 years in a row, Otakon, I love you. Really look into that, and I don't know if you might want to look into outsourcing a bit more, or really looking at where these choke points are happening, so you can prevent them in the future. Because I want to say,
my Friday badge pickup was like I literally walked in the door, walked right up the stairs, walked to the first booth I saw, badge out.
Yeah, and speaking of Friday, so for me, I feel like I barely did any content. Like I maybe did one panel on Friday, and it. Just overall, the con seemed like I had less to do on Friday, but that picked up after the rest of the event.
I think,
and that might have just been my personal schedule taste, but
Fridays are always weird for me. I do a lot of conventions. Like I was saying that Otakon this is my 20th con this year, and Fridays tend to come in 2 flavors. They either never end or they're over before I know it.
Yeah.
This year, I mean, I did a lot of stuff on Friday. I mean, opening ceremonies for the first time. I was surprised that it wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be. I did opening ceremonies for the first time. That was great. Had the one panel at 4 o'clock and the one panel at 7:30. But other than that, Friday just kind of came and went.
Yeah.
And it was only crazy for me for like I want to say the first 45 minutes of the day when I'm walking around and I'm saying, oh, so this is where all the people went. There's no ridge line because everyone's right around here.
Yeah, like the lines for the dealers and everything like that. Which
I actually, oh no, this is something that drove me up a wall. They had the line for the artist alley, and it was rather long, and I never wait on the line for any reason, but I wanted to see what was going on in the artist alley because I wanted to pick up something. And I get there, and the line, they tell us if you want to go to the artist alley to go up the escalator, and then there's no one at the top of the escalator telling you where to go, and the line just disperses.
Yeah, you always need someone at the end
there
of the line.
There was nobody there. And then when you went back down to the other side, they just told you to do it. It was like you were going in a giant Mobius. Yeah. And it never ended. So I finally ended up, fortunately, Catrail had a priority, so we were able to just walk in the other entrance.
Yeah.
But it was really odd because that's really poor line management. And a lot of people were like, okay, well, we're just not going to the artist alley, we're just going to go to the dealer's room. I saw at least 50 or 60 people that just decided to go straight to the dealer's room before coming down the escalator for the second time because they didn't feel like trying to navigate this bizarre conundrum.
Yeah, if you're moving a line and if you have to split it off a little bit, you need to make sure you have staffers at both points directing.
We just didn't know why they weren't sending people down the escalator into the artist alley. They were saying to go up the escalator, and that didn't make any sense.
Yeah, but beyond that, like I said, and so. The thing I said, like, I only did one panel on Friday, and I noticed this weekend I spent so much of my time in panel room 3, and I'd be very curious to see if that was like an unofficially tracked room, because it seemed like everything that wasn't a featured panelist or like industry, but like higher end stuff, like almost academic, like there was a history of Gynax panel.
Was that the panel where Panel Ops used to be?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was manga for grown-ups. There was the Gundam, when Gundams go bad. My panel was in that.
Ink's panel on poetry was in there, too.
Yeah, and it just seemed like that was like the prime room. Like there was a lot of people. I saw a lot of the same people in each audience there.
I saw the same thing, though, in 5 and 7. Because I did 2 panels in 7 and 2 panels in 5. And I saw a lot of the same people. 5 had a lot of really good stuff over the weekend, too. And that was like that 800-seat room.
The one panel thing that was weird to me is Mike Toole, who does a lot of... He's one of the featured panelists, does a lot of great stuff. They put his... I think it was Anime That Time Forgot, or whatever the official title is. I apologize, Mike. I don't remember it. At 9 a.m. on Saturday. And, like, he drew a good crowd because he's a featured panelist and it's a really good thing, but... The room was maybe 2/3, 3/4 full, and it just seems like for a featured panelist thing in a big room like that, you want that more at prime time, especially as counter programming to other big draws.
I remember a couple of years ago I heard there was this unofficial policy that every panelist, if you do more than one, gets one early one, and then everything else around it. Like Catrail had a 9 a.m. this morning. The earliest one that I did was 10:15 yesterday when I did Aria of the Soul. But I mean, I've noticed that even the 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. panels still have a good draw. Like Aria of the Soul had at least 350 to 400 people in it, and that's the one thing that I noticed this year. I did not personally see a single packed to capacity panel in one of the bigger rooms. Like the little rooms I saw go to capacity. The AMV theater go into capacity. I did not see a packed. In fact, not even the Michael Tatum Q&A session. Packed out 5.
One of my other ones, like the really bad, just the worst stuff, really crazy anime stuff. That was an evening one, and that was packed. I did see that one.
Yeah, I didn't all weekend. Like the best turnout I had this weekend was the best turnout I had this weekend was 750 people. I've been to cons that aren't that big, but like. It wasn't like last year I was seeing panel 7 because last year almost all my stuff was in 7. A lot of people know it was in 7. I saw 7 routinely full, 900 people, 1,000 people throughout the day. And this year, some of the bigger rooms, if they hit 700 or 800, that was impressive.
Yeah, and I feel like only like I mentioned panel room 3, but only those smaller ones ever really seem to get to the point that if they failed, they had to tell people, wait outside. 1 3 in the AMV theater. Oh, and 6. I saw 1 through 6 in the AMV theater fill out routinely. Those are the smallest rooms. Yeah.
2, 5, 7. Those rooms are huge, and I did not see them.
So, yeah, and like we said, in general, the con seemed less crowded. But going back to dealer's room, Like, one of the things I noticed that was really interesting looking at the industry this year, like, only Funimation had a really huge booth, and PonyCan kind of did, but there wasn't a lot of stuff there. Most of the companies now just have a very specialized table, and really are really trying to, like, instead of less to do, really more have whoever's working at the table really talk to the fans, interact with them, and that's really neat to see. And I mean, on one hand, I miss the golden days of way back when. Like, I remember going to one Otakon where Geneon had the massive Helsing throne and things like that, and that was cool. But and it's neat to see the spectacle. But at the end of the day, conventions are more about talking to people and meeting your fellow fans. And I feel like the booths that are the best to go to for the industry people are those ones where you can really interact with whoever the representative is, and you see they are the ones that really have a good. The other thing I noticed, just overall in the dealer's room, and I'm curious why this happened, prices seemed a lot better. Like,
the prices were. I mean, okay. Confession: I was in the dealer's room once yesterday for an hour and a half. I was supposed to go back today, and I kept getting drawn into conversations with people. When I went in this year, I mean, one thing is the dealer's room here pretty much has the same vendors every single year, so you know what you're getting, and after a while, you become immune to it. So I went in there to talk to conventions and to talk to some of the industry and just to do that. And I noticed the prices were better generally this year. Prices were better. Yeah. In some cases, some were higher, some were lower, but generally they were good this year. But it's like, at least for this old soldier, the dealer's room doesn't have any luster for me anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't have to go in. I mean, I see kids who line up in queue just to go in there because they need to be in the dealer's room. For me, it's the dealer's room.
Yeah, we've reached that point where we've kind of spent. We don't have any more shelf space for figures or things like that.
I view it this way: Discotek was selling that Mazinger box set for $45.
Yeah.
The same box set new off Amazon was $15 cheaper.
Yeah.
It was $20 cheaper if you bought it brand new off the marketplace. So what do I need a dealer's room for?
Yeah.
I buy my Funimation stuff from FYE because it's half price. I buy it from Amazon because it's always $10, $15 cheaper. What do I need a dealer's room for? At this point, I just pretty much go to Sci-Fi Continuum because they have all like the old box sets really cheap.
Yeah.
I buy from them. I'll occasionally pick up something from somebody else, but that's just...
Yeah.
Dealer's rooms don't work when you have the internet and a full-time job.
It was much better for kind of impulse buys,
Yeah.
cheap things like that. Like I came very close to buying one figure that normally would go for $300 that was marked at $200, but I realized I would blow the rest of my spending budget, and I would be a pain in the butt to take home.
I put up a shield. I have a weakness for the Artist Alley.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I had a bit of a problem with Artist Alley this year. Whenever we do the Artist Alley, I always get one commission, maybe a couple of buttons, and I have some buttons on my lanyard. I get one commission, a couple of buttons, maybe a comic if the artist is really good, and great. This year, the front end of the Artist Alley had conventions in it. So like Anime North.
It was so weird to see that.
Yeah, Anime North, Anime Mid-Atlantic, Anime USA, ESSI, they were in the front of the Artist Alley. Okay, cool. Then I go in there and a lot of the same artists that I usually see, a lot of the same art, like they're aping off each other. The really good artists weren't taking commissions or were charging too much money. Yeah. The other artists that were reasonably priced weren't like what I was looking for. The prices ranged wildly over the weekend between the vendors, and it for the first time ever, it felt like just another Artist Alley.
Yeah, I really had to hunt to find because I always get one commission. I had to really hunt to find an artist that, one, did commissions, two, it was a style I liked, and three, was a reasonably priced. I really had to hunt this year.
I just bought a book,
and it was a little disappointing. Artist Alley just felt like a weird place this year.
It wasn't the same.
Yeah, and the other thing that was weird to me is I realized some conventions pay to have their spot in the dealer's room versus the Artist Alley, but I just it's like I would rather have all the conventions in that place.
I heard at least one convention complain that they wanted dealer's room, but they were told they were getting Artist Alley, and they complained about it. I hear a lot of murmurings, and I don't give much credence to a lot of things, but I've heard murmurings that the artists were struggling. A couple of my artist friends said they broke even, and that was it.
The other thing I noticed too that really bugged me this year, and this artist, please note this: list your prices clearly, easy to see everywhere. And if you're sharing a table, make it clear what stuff is yours, what's your table's mate. Please.
Yes.
That was something that really drove me nuts this year.
I saw that in a lot of places because it's like you want to get something and then suddenly you find out it's like more money than you had on you. Or, there was one person wwho had a thing saying starting at, but I never found anything on the table that was at that price.
Yeah,
everything was $10 to $15 higher than the starting at price.
And the best way to do it is, especially if you have like cheap little knickknacks. Like I found like one little cool thing that was $1, and I was like, yep, done. And that's where you're going to make a lot of your money.
I had more luck with the writers this year. There were some really good writers in the dealer's room in the artist alley this year, and I met these two from Quebec, and we did like a literary trade, and I bought one of their books, and I'm finding that when you go to the artist alley now, there's just a wide range of crafting in there, and it pays to look at all the booths to see what you can find. But at the same time, Otakon needs to vary their artists a little bit. I see the same artists every single year to the point where I've commissioned them all.
Yep, I've run into that trouble too. But so one of the things, like I mentioned that I spent a lot of time in panels this year. Unfortunately, I missed both concerts, which was a bit of a bummer because I think Otakon does do really good concerts. They also had the Back On concert was in the middle of the masquerade when they were doing the judges were delivering, which was cool to hear about because it's, instead of always doing the AMVs, which it seems to be what they always do at most conventions, it was something different. And I'm curious to see how people reacted to that.
I have only ever attended one concert at Otakon, and it was the Yoko Kanno Sunday concert for Otakon 20. I was given a ticket, I went. I never go to the concerts. I didn't even realize that this year, I knew Back On because I think they also played the Matsuri, but I didn't know who the musical guest was this year. And that's normally they see during opening ceremonies they have the band. They didn't have a concert during opening ceremonies, so they had me telling stupid stories for 10 minutes. It was really strange because Otakon does put on good concerts, but honestly the last concert I went to was Rookies at Techo because I really like Rookies, and that was a fantastic show. Yeah,
so I'll be, like I said, I'll be curious to see what the reports were. I'm a little bummed because it was during my panel, so I couldn't. But I wanted to see Ore ska band because I like ska. So I want to see what that.
I did want to see that. I did. So the thing is, this year there wasn't any big name musical guest.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any publicity about who the bands were.
Unless they're a huge name, I think that's kind of the thing is if they are not epic level, well known, promote them. Show us more stuff, and maybe it's just I missed it on social media. But I would like to see more of that.
I'd love to see these guys bring over Nano.
Yeah.
Right?
So, just kind of finishing up, one of the other things I really wanted to mention that I thought was the other reason I didn't go to the Sunday concert was I went to the Discotek Media panel, which was really cool because they're the company that really releases what I like this year. But one of the things they did after a couple announcements and everything like that was they talked about what goes into packaging design for one of their Blu-ray releases, and it was for Castle Cagliostro, and talking about, we started with this promo cell, then we did this, and talking about how it's this massive file with all these different layers. And as much as I like announcements and things like that, I love when a licensing company talks about a lot more of the behind-the-scenes nuts and bolts and stuff like that. And I think it would be cool to see more companies try and integrate that into their panel, and I realize it might seem a little stale, but it is interesting because it's something we don't hear about. So
see, I'd never go to any in the industry. In fact, this year was remarkable because I went to one panel that wasn't one of mine. I went to Ink's panel on poetry and anime, and I could only stay for half of it, but it was really fantastic. But I keep saying this, people need. I don't follow my own advice, but people need to give panels a chance. People they'll just wander into the room and you never know what you're going to find. But
some of the best ones are the things I've stumbled into, and I think this is we always talk about the anime convention model versus a Comic Con or something like that. The heart of these cons, like anime cons, are the panels. The vendor hall is nice, but it gets old very fast. if you see, open up Guidebook on your phone, look at the schedule online before you go, whatever, do some research. And even if you're not sure if you're going to make it and be able to go, because you might have something else, make a note of it, just jot it down, because you might find something awesome. I've learned about so many great manga and new series to check out and things like that, just because they were brought up in a panel that caught my eye. Like I did the manga for grown-ups, they mentioned one thing, and I hadn't heard of it, and I opened the Amazon app on my phone, and it's coming to my house on Monday.
I've done that. I have done that at cons before. That's how I got into 20th Century Boys and Bride Story. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of chance of discovery, and there's make no mistake, this is an anime con, as opposed to like Kineticon that I went to 2 weeks ago that's turning into a trade show / Comic-Con.
Yeah.
This was and still remains an anime con. You were going to come here for the community and you were going to have a ton of fun.
And the last thing I will say about that is, we mentioned the community. A lot of the stuff I did, like I really tried to get to a lot of panels, but I also really made time to meet some of the friends that I don't see at a lot of it. But it wasn't just we're just going to hang out. Like some of it we had like a set event. Like there's a group of us that are really big into craft beer. So we organized it like, okay, this is when most of our artists don't have a lot on our schedule. We're going to do a meetup and I'll do a craft beer tasting session and things like that. And like, we say don't do stuff to just hang out with your friends and like be bored, but if you have something engaging, and it's also a good way to kind of meet your bigger community and stuff. Like if it's like, oh, you have a friend that's also in it, bring them along. And so, I mean, Facebook's a great way to organize stuff like that.
We had this year it was weird because like I keep talking about last year, like I had a couple of really great moments last year where I would just meet people like on the balcony and chat, or I go to an impromptu meetup and chat. This year it's weird. The entire weekend was just a bunch of people pinging me saying, hey, let's do stuff. And I managed to have time to see pretty much all of them, at least for a little while.
Yeah.
And that's something that doesn't happen with me at Otakon very often, especially when my Otakon schedule is as crazy as it was this year, where I have early morning and evening and time in between. This year, at least, I had a chance to do stuff like that. And that felt good. It felt rewarding. And some of us are staying in the harbor tonight, so we're going to go out later because, post-con. And I guarantee I'm going to walk past the BCC tonight when I'm done, and there's going to be a line of people outside just hanging out because even though Otakon's over, Otakon isn't over until everyone goes home.
Yeah, you don't want that feeling to end.
You don't. You really don't.
But, yeah, I mean, like I said, this was a good year. And I think the Baltimore location really lends itself to kind of branching out and being able to, like, go find a good place to get dinner with friends or things like that.
It's a pity that the riots drove some people off.
It did,
It's a pity that things like that happened. But, the people that were here did experience a good weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of the Baltimore location, so next year is the last year before they move to D.C.
It is the last year.
You ready for it?
I can't not be. They already know what I'm doing next year. What does that say when I already know what panels I'm giving at Otakon 2016 and the form hasn't even gone up yet?
It means you have a problem.
I do. I have totally. Someone needs to invent AnimeCons Anonymous and do a 12-step program to get us out of the community when we are blatantly too old to keep doing this. Although on the plus side, I will say the crowd this year was incredibly accommodating. I got my Japan trip coming up. I brought 173 books to sell, and I think I have 30 left.
So you talk about your Japan trip and stuff. Where can people find out more about that?
You go to studyofanime.com or facebook.com/studyofanime. I have the information there. It's also gofundme.com/SOA Japan. Currently, I have raised approximately $2,400 or so towards it. The flight is taken care of. The rail pass is taken care of. A lot of the trip is currently taken care of. I'm keeping the GoFundMe up through the... I might take it down now that Otakon's over, but I'm probably keeping it up through the end of August. And then I leave on the 8th. I come back on October 1st, and I immediately have a con a week later.
You're crazy. So
totally
follow what Charles is up to. We're all going to be living vicariously through him and be incredibly jealous. So he's going to have
unless, of course, I actually do insult a Tengu and you never see me again.
Oh, if anybody would do it, it would be you.
It would be.
But
I'm the guy who's going to the Mountain of the Dead, and I want to bring rocks back from it.
But if for some reason you want to talk to Charles and want to talk to the rest of us at AnimeCons TV, don't be afraid. Send us your own Otakon report if you went at 762-ADEQUATE. You can send us an email at podcast@animecons.tv or animecons.com podcast on Facebook. We're also on Google+. On Twitter, we are at AnimeCons TV. Let us know what you want, especially if you want to Otakon, and we will see you next time.
I'm going to start leaving voicemail messages on that when I'm in Japan.
Oh dear.
Oh God, you're going to get a
Good luck with the international charges.
Oh, I got international on my SIM card because I planned ahead.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.